Hello everybody, welcome to Coding 101. My name is Kutla, and today's video is a continuation of our previous video whereby we were constructing or building a calculator application using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In our last video, we used CSS to build this beautiful calculator that you see over here. It's pretty good, like it really looks nice. So we used some CSS and some HTML to build this calculator. So in today's video, we are focusing predominantly on our JavaScript, and we're going to make this calculator actually come alive. We're going to make it a bit more responsive so that every time we click those buttons, something actually happens. So that is what's going to be happening in today's video. And before we continue, once again, I would like to encourage you to make sure that if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please make sure that you subscribe. Please make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you leave a comment in the comment section, and also make sure that you like this video so that others can know about this video as well. So please make sure that you do that. Now, once again, without wasting any more of your time, I would like to continue with this video. Remember, like I said, in the last portion of our video, we were simply doing the CSS cascading styles sheet aspect of this project, and we used some pretty interesting stuff in order to style that calculator, but very simplistic. If you have not watched this video, please make sure that you go back and watch that video before you continue with this one, because I don't know if it's going to make sense for you if you just continue with this video without watching the previous video. But if you feel like you're good with CSS, it's okay, we can just proceed with our JavaScript today. So yeah, let's continue with our JavaScript. But before we dive into our JavaScript, I do like to give a little bit of a background into how we're going to handle this problem. We must first explain how we are actually going to implement the evaluation of our mathematical expression. Now, before we continue, I would like to say that we're not going to be using the eval function. Many of you might be familiar with the eval function. Eval function is the easy way out of doing the calculator application, but in this case, we're going to be entering into the nitty-gritties of how to actually implement a calculation of a mathematical expression using our calculator app. So we're not going to be using the eval keyword in order to do our calculator. We're going to be using something a little bit more intuitive. So we must explain how we are going to calculate our mathematical expression using JavaScript. And the first thing that we're going to do is that we are going to have separate arrays for our numbers and our symbols. And the reason why we do that is because we want our mathematical expression to follow the BODMAS theory. I don't know if it's called a theory, but I think it's a mathematical rule. Yes. So we want our expression to follow the BODMAS rule. And in order to do that, we need those arrays so that we give more preeminence to operators that come first in the BODMAS rule. So BODMAS, if you're not already familiar with it, just simply is brackets of division, mathematics, addition, and subtraction. So what it simply means is that each time you find an expression that has addition, multiplication, subtraction, division, and brackets, make sure that you start with the brackets first. Make sure you start with the expression that is occupied inside of the brackets, and after you're done doing that, make sure that you do the division aspect of that operation or that arithmetic expression. Make sure you move on, after you're done with the division, make sure you move to the multiplication, you do the addition, and you move on to the subtraction as last. So separating our numbers and our symbols is going to give us a sort of like a better way to control how we implement this crucial mathematical rule. So the next thing that we're going to do is that we are going to create an array for our expression. And the reason why we're creating an array for our expression, but first let me explain what the expression array will do. The expression array will capture the type of our input, will capture whether or not our input is a symbol or whether or not our input is a number or it's a zero. And the reason why we're doing that is that we want to maintain the validity of our expression. We don't want a situation whereby our expression has two consecutive operators. We know that that's not true. So let me give a bit of an example of this. If you have an expression like 2 plus times 3, so this by its own is an invalid expression. So this is why we're creating an array. So our expression array will simply state in this case that the first item there is a number, and the second thing over there is a symbol, and the second item over there is also a symbol, and then the third item is a number. So the reason why we're creating an expression array is that we want to filter out any chance of having something like this, whereby a symbol follows a symbol, which is something that is not allowed, especially in our standard calculator. I know it might be allowed as a sort of like a coding way, but we're just trying to keep things simple for now in our calculator. So that's why we're creating that expression array to keep the types of input that we get from our calculator. And the other thing that we're going to create is we're going to create an array that is going to just simply store will capture the information that is being printed on the screen. So this array is simply for the information that is strictly being printed on the screen. We want to be able to capture that because when it comes to implementing our cancel functionality, we want to be able to just like pop out things from the array, and that's how backspace is achieved. So let's not talk a little bit too much. Let's just get into creating our array. The first thing that we need to do is do our numbers array. And then we need to do our symbols array, our operators. I use the word operators and symbols interchangeably, so if I say symbol, I am simply meaning operators. So I hope you're not confused by that. Then we're going to have our expression array, which is going to store the types of whether or not something is a symbol or it's a number. So that's essentially what it's going to store. And then we're going to have screen expression, which is simply going to store the values that is being printed on the screen. And the other thing that we're of course going to do, speaking of screen, is that we're going to capture our screen. We're just going to say document.getElement by ID, and remember we gave our screen an ID of result. All right, that's it. And the next thing that we need to do is that we need to implement an event listener. What an event listener simply does is that it listens to that click sound. So every time we click something on the calculator, it's going to capture the information about the item that is being clicked. So if we click a number, it's going to get the information about that number, whether that number is being contained in a div, and what is the class name of that div, and what is the content that is within. And that is essentially what we want to do. We want every time a user clicks on something, we capture the information about that particular object or element that is being clicked at. And the information that we actually want to capture is the class name of that element that is being clicked, and we also want to capture the text content of that application that is being clicked. And so this is how we implement our event listener over here. You can see that over here we are capturing the text content of that element that is being clicked. And over here we are implementing a main function. We're going to create a main function which is going to be sort of like our traffic cop, and it's just going to guide how everything is going to work out in our calculator application. So you can see over here again, before we continue, that we're capturing the class name of the element that is being clicked. So that is a simple implementation of our event listener. Now we're going to go on into implementing the main function, and we're going to make sure that it takes in the text content of the element that is being clicked, and it also takes the class name of that element as well. So we're going to say if the class name of the element that is being clicked is not a setting, then we want to implement this. So this is actually where the calculation or the mathematical evaluation begins, because now we're not dealing with a setting, we're actually dealing with numbers and symbols and operators. So what's not going to happen here is that every time you click a C, it's not going to come over here, because C, remember, is our setting. So let me just go back to our calculator. So if you click the CM or this modular operation, what's going to happen, because we've classified that as a setting, it's not going to go into our if function over here. Instead, we're going to create something for it at the very bottom. We're going to say if the text that is inside that element is equals to C, then I want you to implement or run a function called cancel, which we're ultimately going to implement. In fact, you know what? How about we just implement it now? I don't know why it's acting out that way. So we're just going to implement the cancel function at the very bottom. Just do this. So we're just going to say function, and then we're going to say cancel. So what cancel simply means is that every time we have an expression inside of our calculator, let's say maybe we have an expression like 2 plus 2, and then you realize that actually it's not supposed to be 2 plus 2, it's supposed to be 2 plus 3. We want to give you the functionality or the ability to edit that information, to backspace and write afresh. So we just like simply press the cancel button, and it would simply backspace that expression. And remember, in order to backspace that expression, we need to use the screen expression array that we've implemented at the top. So our screen operation in this instant, if you have 2 plus 2, will be implemented, our screen array, it'll be implemented as such. So this makes it easy for us to just simply say, okay, listen, just take the screen array and just simply pop the object, just simply pop. And so what pop does is that it eliminates the element that is at the very end of the array. So yeah, it's as simple as that. Implementing the cancel functionality, it's nothing too difficult, but notice that after we've implemented the cancel functionality, what we need to do is that we need to refresh our screen, because now our screen might contain something else, but now we need to give our screen some new information. And in order to do that, we just simply say screen expression, and then we say to array, to string, sorry. We're converting what we have in that array to a string, and then we're just gonna, because it's gonna come out like this, it's gonna come out with commas, so we're just gonna simply replace all those commas with like an empty space. So if we convert something to an array, the commas are gonna come out, and we're just simply doing this to eliminate the commas that we have in there. Alright, let me just go up a bit so that you can see this. And then after done doing that, what we simply need to do is that we need to change our expression. We need to check if the element that is being popped, or the value or the input that is being popped, is it a symbol or is it a number? Because we need to implement this, because now your expression has changed, and this change needs to be reflected in the numbers and the symbols array. So we need to know the item that was being removed from the expression, was it an array or was it a symbol? And in order to check that, we need to just come here and say expression, and we say we're going to get the last item, because remember the last item is the one that is being actually removed from the screen. And we just say if that item is a symbol, then what you need to do, actually it's supposed to be symbols. I'll repeat again, and I will say that I use the word symbols and operation or operator, sorry, interchangeably. So if I'm saying symbols, I'm actually referring to an operator. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say expression.pop, because I want to remove that thing from the expressions as well. And I'm also going to come over here and I'm going to say symbols.pop, because we've affirmed that the object, or what am I saying? Affirmed that the item that was being removed from the screen expression was actually a symbol, so we're getting rid of the symbol from the symbol array. But if it turns out that the item that is being removed is an expression, is a number, we still need to pop it up. In fact, you know what? Yeah, no, I think this is good. Let's just say expression.pop, and then we need to say numbers, because now we know that it's a number, so we just pop it out of the numbers array. And then just like that, we're done implementing our cancel functionality. So, and then we move on now to our main function and see what we implement next. So remember that we've implemented this if function over here, and now we need to write what is going to be contained within that first if statement. And what is going to be contained in the first if statement is we're going to first check, because let's say, for example, a user is going to type something like 2 plus, and then after they pressed 2 plus, they're going to try and press plus again. Remember, this is an invalid arithmetic expression, so we're going to check, the input that the user has put before us. If that input is a symbol, and the input, the item before, was also a symbol, then we need to prevent anything from actually happening. So what we're going to say is, we're going to say if there was a symbol before the item that you just did, so we're going to create a function, and it's going to be called symbol before, and we're going to give it a class name. And so if that item was a symbol, and the item that you're giving to me is a symbol, and the item before was a symbol, then I'm not going to let you proceed. This is where we end. And also, what I do want to do is that if there was a number before, because what we want to do is that we implement a number before function, because every time somebody maybe wants to create a double or triple digit number, a number that has more than one digit, then we want to be able to capture that information, and we're gonna do that using the number before function. We're going to give that function a class name, and we're going to give it a text. And we're not going to be proceeding because you've not actually pressed calculation. or you've not actually pressed the equal sign. So this is not a calculation, this is just you putting an input. And then after we're done doing that, we're going to check if the item that is being clicked, or the element that is being clicked, is equals. So if the element that is being clicked is equals, then we just need to simply implement the calculation function. So this is equals, then we just need to say calculate. So we're going to implement the calculate function, which is simply going to create our calculation and calculate or evaluate our expression. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do, of course, is we're going to implement the symbol before functionality. And remember that the symbol before, what it simply does, I'm going to just explain it to you, but before that, let me just create the function header. So this is going to be symbol before. It takes in a class name, and yeah, and what it does, it returns a boolean, as you can already figure out. It's going to return a boolean. So what symbol before simply says is that if the symbol before that you have clicked is a symbol, and the element before that was a symbol, then nothing should happen. So if I have an expression like 3 minus, and I try to click the multiplication sign, then what it needs to happen is that nothing needs to happen because of this. Now we're going to see
I think
how
we're going to hold it right here. We're going to implement the symbol before function, as well as a host of all other functions in the next video. So please make sure that you watch the next video, and make sure that you subscribe, make sure that you leave a comment in the comment section, make sure that you like this video, and make sure that you click the video that is going to appear or pop up in your screen to watch the next part of this project. So I will see you in a bit.